Lately, I've been seeing some comments around Twitter, even some on the channel, with Xbox gamers talking about how, man, it's just over. They're going to go to PC or, some other platform, talking about how Xbox has disappointed them by taking games to other platforms. Just on Twitter, just yesterday, I think I was on Twitter and I was just reading some of these comments and I was just laughing going, number one, a lot of these folks saying that they're going to go to PC, many of them are going to deal with one update and eventually quit because their happiness is not fomented on these material things. There's a different side to human happiness and human joy, and it is not with all of this stuff, to be very honest. That's just my thinking on this. The second piece too is most of their reasons for actually moving or switching consoles has been based on former emotional arguments or emotional stances that they held, that now that reason, logic, and true business acumen is coming into the situation, they're no longer happy because they never really built or never really did they think very carefully about how they were moving in their gaming to realize that these companies are not here to make you happy or here to basically make your tummy feel warm. They're here to basically play cutthroat economics. I say this all the time, that PlayStation is going to continue to gut players gut developers every time it feels the need. Why? Because to all these people that are saying that Xbox is doing all this stuff and sending its games to other platforms, you have to remember that both these companies want to make money, but one of them is living pretty much what I'll call paycheck to paycheck. PlayStation is operating at a 7% margin. With all the money that it makes and all the money that it spends, it's only a matter of time before something colossal happens and 7% is no longer a good margin for them anymore. Any business owner that you ask and tell them, say, hey man, how would you like a 7% margin? They'll laugh at you and be like, that is a death sentence. Maybe in a slow month, you might say 7%, but you understand that slow month is a thing and you adjust accordingly, but you cannot perpetually stay on 7% or anything close to that 7% and think that you're running a healthy business. This is why the one time that PlayStation chose that it wasn't going to go ahead and do the 7% thing and it was actually going to sell games rather than gut devs, its devs are still working and its devs are still making money. In fact, the devs that are making MLB The Show, even though people may try to come out here and tell me MLB forced them or all this nonsense, they're still in jobs. Guess what? The other San Diego outfit that is not making MLB The Show or making games that are selling cross-platform is the one that's getting hit by layoffs. Not only did they get hit by layoffs now, they also got hit by layoffs in 2023. Look at it right here. PlayStation's Visual Arts Studio is the latest game company hit by layoffs. This was written by Vicky Blake on October 22nd, 2023. What game came out in 2023 for PlayStation? Tell me. Go ahead and look it up. What game came out in 2023? And they laid off people literally around the same period. So what these Xbox gamers are telling me is that they're disappointed that Xbox wants to take a sustainable method to make business work and are not doing what PlayStation is doing and playing this perception game, and therefore they're unhappy. Well, you backed yourself into a corner with an emotional argument that doesn't hold any water. So now that reason and logic is coming into the picture, your argument doesn't hold, so you feel unhappy. Or maybe you really think that this whole gaming scene is predicated on the fantasy of gaming being this fun, jovial, play thingy, not knowing that there's a cutthroat world and a reality out there. You got to understand that human beings make your games. See, keep these games exclusive and AI is going to happily come in there and start making your games. If they're not selling and PlayStation wants to create this perspective, don't be surprised that they basically start adopting more AI tools to replace a lot of these artists all the way out there. These artists, they understand the reality. Why? If you don't buy their games, they understand and they know that their job is at risk. And so when people keep saying MLB forced PlayStation's hands, I'm like, guys, you don't understand. San Diego studios would have been gutted if their game was not selling. Why? Because the other San Diego outfit that PlayStation actually owns gets gutted apparently now twice, in succession pretty much. With PlayStation coming out and you guys claiming that their financials were the best, they're over there gutting their own development teams. Not only did they gut some of the folk from San Diego, they went ahead and got some from their Malaysia studio as well. Another visual arts segment in terms of their own developers. So tell me again how your happiness is so paramount that other gamers playing a game is not making you happy. And I'll ask you and say, well, you know, to be very honest, the most unhappy people, and we must give them the attention, are the developers who have lost their job. Sorry, man, but you saying that you're unhappy and stuff is your entitled self coming out. That's what I look at these folk that are talking about this stuff online. I'm like, nah, you're just an entitled, first world, spoiled gamer. That's what you are. It's exactly what you are. Let's just call it what it is, guys. Let's just be honest. That is exactly what you are. Because you came into the Xbox ecosystem, sure. You came in with this particular promise that you were going to get exclusives, or with the perception you were going to get exclusives, and then it didn't work out. Xbox literally got a bludgeoning. You feel me? They got a bludgeoning. When it came down to it, that premise of exclusivity that you came into the ecosystem for was what had to be sacrificed on the chopping block so that developers could eat. I'd say it's a worthwhile sacrifice. Yes, I say in order of hierarchy, VG, you can quote me, VG says that your exclusivity and how you perceive your list wars to be is a worthy sacrifice so that developers who are making games can actually maintain their jobs and eat. Take it anywhere to the bank. So when Xbox was actually farming money and keeping their development teams open and were selling games on Steam, you benefited from that. Because your exclusivity paradigm exploded, but because the other people on PlayStation could not benefit, you felt it was okay. But now that the industry and the market is demanding more in terms of cost, in terms of all of this, and Xbox is now trying to expand there, you now think it's not okay because the other team is getting your games, getting the best version of your games. It is an entitled mindset, and it needs to be called out. I'm not saying that, all Xbox gamers are in this, category. I'm just seeing these conversations on PC, on Twitter, with people saying, "Oh, I'm just gonna go get a PC," and I'm like, why? I want you to get a PC. Don't get me wrong. Let's just be clear with that. But why do you want to go get a PC? What is your reasoning? Oh, well, because Xbox ain't giving me these exclusives anymore. What do you mean Xbox isn't giving you these exclusives? Like, how do you mean? You don't get access, you can't play them? They're not giving them to you, or they're not giving them to you and then locking them in, walled gardens for you to feel nice. And this is why the conversation has devolved into nonsense. Because here's the thing. Your stance has now emboldened the so-called PlayStation talking head to come and smack talk Xbox and say, well, they're giving their games away, when in reality, the true PlayStation gamer, the one that's not sitting there around talking and, shouting in front of a microphone and twittering on Twitter, has skyrocketed the so-called Xbox game that y'all say that they're giving away into the top pre-ordered game on PlayStation. Isn't that crazy? So the reality is actually very far from what the fomented nonsense is on the internet. And so when we go back and we think about it, it only makes sense that when we examine reality, we find out that these so-called exclusivity champions are just a small segment of what's going on, because the PlayStation community could not be bothered about your exclusivity or their exclusivity. The majority of them are not even playing any of those games. They're all happy playing Apex Legends and Fortnite. Free-to-play games, by the way. They don't have to pay a dime. They just buy the console and then they go in and start playing these games. And there's Call of Duty HQ, which could also include Warzone, which is also free. No commitment in cash up front. And then GTA 5 and NBA 2K25, which many of them will play over and over and over again every year. Then you got NFL 25, which most of them will probably only play. You got Minecraft, which most of them may play and their kids may only play. You have EA's College Sports Football, which many continue to play over and over every year. High on Life finally broke in there because they entered PlayStation Plus. WWE is coming out with another game. I think it was this weekend the other WWE game came out. Yeah, it's moved away. Is it here? Is it out yet? Or it's still pre-order. I think it's next weekend the game comes out. The launch date is still, where's the launch date? I don't even know what the launch date is. Oh, sorry, 3/13. Okay, so in about 5 days, the game comes out. So in reality, people are just bugging for nothing, because those games that Xbox is sending, and again, even on the Xbox side, let's call it out. Even on the Xbox side, y'all are barely playing the Xbox exclusives. Okay? Oh, look at this. Look at what the data is showing me. Avowed made its way up there. Great. But this is Avowed cracking a list that's very hard to crack for this particular time period. And thankfully, it's on Game Pass. That's why it's being played. So I'm calling the Xbox gamers out too. Where are y'all's exclusive filling this list up? Where are they? I better see Doom up here for a long time, not just 1 week. I better see it for 2 months straight. If y'all are going to whine and complain that these exclusives are going to PlayStation, if you're going to whine, you need to put your money where your mouth is. So again, I'm looking at this whole proposition and I'm saying to myself, what is wrong with this picture? What's wrong with this picture is these so-called PlayStation gamers have you eating out of their hands. Their goal is to troll you so that you're unhappy. That's what it is that they're trying to do. And they're successful with some of you. Some of you want to abandon ship and jump to Xbox. I wonder why. And jump to, PC. I wonder why. But I've been telling y'all for a long time that what you're looking for is probably not on console. But some of you refuse to listen. And now you want to jump to PC. Jump on, but you better go with conviction and understand why you're going. There's a reason I went back to PC. I'd heard the first device I owned that could actually play a game was a PC. It wasn't even a gaming PC. It was just a Celeron PC. I was always, tweaking around computers and stuff and messing with them, and I could fix them. I could do all kinds of stuff. People used to have me troubleshoot their computers. Just stuff I learned, coming up. And so my parents were working, and one time I think there was something I was supposed to go on. My mom talked to her boss and said, well, since you're basically, retrofitting your office space, my son is very good at computers. Instead of paying me, all this, whatever, is it possible to basically pay me some and then one computer goes to him? I'm just sitting at home one day and next thing you know, they bring a seller and I'm like, what? I'm like, I crack my knuckles and I'm like, what? Why is there a computer in the house? My mom's like, it's for you. I was like, oh, thank you. I didn't give my mom any problems. I was a good kid. So again, that computer was a very huge blessing. And so I just powered that bad boy up and I just started, insane. Then games, very hard to get, very expensive. Couldn't even afford most of them. And most of them wouldn't even run, because, back in the day to game on PC, I see people complaining and saying, yeah, PC gaming these days. I'm like, man, shut up. If you had to game on PC back in the day where you had to get a disc and all of this stuff and then run the disc and then maybe sometimes the disc won't read properly or you don't have direct something installed and you're over there banging your head on the wall, you didn't have access to the internet to troubleshoot much, man, you have no idea. And then a buddy of mine, somebody was able to get their hands on Dead to Rights. He went to this is a great story. I'll never forget this story. He was going to a school learning programming, right? So they're teaching him how to build apps. And so they couldn't take their laptops into school because they didn't want them to go, put any virus or whatever in. So he got his laptop. He took it. He put it outside with, he made friends with somebody who sold like a little convenience store owner. And he said, can I keep my laptop here for a few minutes? And they were like, sure. So he goes in, he writes a file defragmenter and refragmenter. And he goes in, his flash drive could not carry the entire file. It was a smaller flash drive. He runs the defragmenter, splits the file in half, copies the first half, runs outside, copies it into his laptop, goes back inside, copies the other half, goes back outside, then recompiles it with a file fragmenter. And that's how we played Dead to Rights. I will never forget that story. Buddy of mine, he's a beast. He lives, I think he's probably like a computer geek right now doing something crazy. And I can tell you, ladies and gentlemen, that if you're going to come on PC and you don't have the conviction to be able to say technology is cool and I'm going to go ahead and, basically jump in and you want that convenience, stay on. If you think that stay on call, it's not for you. But if you're willing to embrace the renegade, that's what PC gaming is for. It is not for the conformist. It is for those who push the envelope. This is why I rail against PlayStation. And if Xbox comes my way, does nonsense, they're going to get the whole burnt of it, because I am very much anti some of the things that they do. In fact, majority of the things that they do. I have to be also fair and honest too. They do some great things. And that's why the only console I can recommend is the Xbox Series S, because it's cheap. Thanks for watching the video. Peace out.